Call the April 4th Wright County Board meeting to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for coming this morning. And we are looking for a motion to, actually, we might have a slight change to the minutes before we do an approval. Commissioner Houston.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Under the time and agenda items on page 2,
Okay.
approve the annual maintenance agreement with 6 cities in Wright County. The agreements would be with the cities of Delano, Elk River, Maple Lake, Monticello, Montrose, and Waverly.
So just adding those names in there then.
Correct.
Okay. With that, would you like to make a motion to?
Unless there's any other changes, Mr. Chair, I will move the minutes from
Okay.
last week.
Motion by Commissioner Houston to move the minutes with those, that amendment, change.
I'll second it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we're going to give that to Commissioner Vetch. So motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Vetch. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda for today, are there any changes for the agenda? Is any? Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for today.
Make a motion to approve the agenda, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Houston to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they would like removed for further consideration?
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Commissioner
second
Potter,
that.
second by Commissioner Houston to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are at, I think we're close to 9:03 here, 9:03. We have, first up is Adam Tagaro, our Information Technology Director. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. This morning I was going to introduce 2 new IT staff. However, I only have 1 here present today. This is Rick Ray. If you want to come up, Rick. Rick is our new telecom specialist. So he is tasked with overseeing our phone system and also learning and supporting our 800 megahertz armor system. So Rick brings 35 years of telecom experience with him, working in places like Marco and Integra, and we are happy to have him on board. He has hit the ground running and has started to take a lot of the support from our other team members that have been supporting the phones piecemeal fashion. We have nearly 1,000 phones to support as far as desktop, plus we have the cellular devices, plus we have all the voicemail system upgrades and everything. So his role here is very crucial to us, and we're happy to have him on board. Rick, I don't know if you want to say anything about yourself. But.
Well, I'd say I've got about 35 years of experience in this. Some of the stuff that I'm going to be taking on is I'm a little unfamiliar with, but it'll be a work in progress getting up to speed on 800 megahertz radio, which it really wasn't anything I'd ever thought I was going to be doing, but it's exciting. I'm going to be meeting with the guys from Granite Electronics and trying to get up to speed to that shortly. Other than that, excited to be here. It's going to, looking forward to a long career here.
And Rick is also very happy that golf season is
started.
Okay.
Adam, I have a question. Is this, would it be with some of the other, besides the 800, would it be with some of the other technologies too, like the next gen 911? Would you be involved in that?
Involved in
because
that,
there is in C118 there is a
meeting this
deal
afternoon,
today
correct.
from 1 to 4, so that's going to be very interesting. I know I'm on the Emergency Services Board, and I think I've said how long it's going to be out in June, it's going to be out in January, it's going to be out. They are saying this fall now, and
Just don't tell them which year.
no, this fall. That's the latest anyway. So it would be where they'll be able to text to 911. That's what they're calling the next gen 911. Yeah. And they're working real closely with the GIS people, so they can actually get a pinpoint a position when they do the text as well. So it's going to be really, and Minnesota is on the cutting edge to it. I mean, we're going to be one of the first states to have it, and so it's going to be kind of exciting. So,
Mr. Chair?
go ahead, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Adam, Rick, this was position for the general public was long overdue. We have a lot of devices, and it was kind of done by committee before, so it was when they could ever get to it. Now we have somebody dedicated to this, which is going to help overall continuity of operations as you proceed, going forward. So it's a welcome addition, and you are a welcome addition here, and hope you have a nice place to work there. Adam promises he'll be on his best behavior.
I never said that.
Okay, I stand
Okay,
corrected. No, but this position was long overdue for this county of this size. And so like I say, now you don't have to worry about phone going out and what are we doing, scrambling between this and that.
And we're increasing in complexity as we add new buildings.
Oh, yeah.
We're adding entire new branch exchanges and support. So.
And I would say, though, if you do make it to that session this afternoon, that would be something that I would like to hear back to the board to see how and when things are happening. Some of the things that we're going to be able to do, though, with the texting to 911, an accident, somebody could snap a picture, send that off, so it will better help emergency services. They'll see the severity of it, whether it's a fender bender, because sometimes people describe things in different ways, whereas if you can see a picture, there's no less ambiguity, I guess. So I think it's going to really help emergency services a lot, and maybe you can come back and give us a report after today, and you'll be one of your first duties.
Mr. Chair, Adam, is Rick going to be working on the potential PA upgrades for the county?
Yes.
As well as another one of the
Yep.
projects that would be under his scope?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. In fact, he actually has already been working with the manufacturer that we're looking at to help scope the system. Connie May Cooper is our project manager on that, and we've pulled Rick in for his role there. So
I look forward to some updates on the IT committee then on that. Thank
good.
you.
Okay, well, welcome aboard. We're
Welcome.
glad to have you. Thank you. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you much.
Okay, next up, Dr. Quinn Strobel, our medical examiner for Wright County. Hello, doctor.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome back. We're
Thank
always,
you.
We're
My
always
annual
glad to
visit.
see you every year.
I can't believe it's been a year.
I know. And I'm ready for this bizarre winter to be over here. Well, thank you for having me. Each year I come and present the summary of cases that our office investigated for Wright County. So this would be for 2016. Our office investigated 557 deaths in Wright County last year. And of those, we performed 47 autopsies, which is within the general, consistent with prior years. Of those, there were 484 incidents where somebody passed away and the medical examiner required no further involvement and their own physicians were able to sign their death certificate. Of the natural deaths, we performed 19 autopsies, and the decedents ranged in age from 15 months to 86 years. There were 4 motor vehicle fatalities in 2016. There was alcohol known to be present in one incident where a male crashed his ATV. In addition, just so that the statistics look right, there was a death classified as an MVA accident last year. However, the incident happened many years ago. There were 17 deaths classified as accidental, which were not motor vehicle related. And of those, 4 were associated with substance abuse and substances detected. 6 were. And substances detected and multiple substances may be present in one individual, so that's why they're more listed as kind of in their own category. Alcohol was present in 3, heroin in 1, oxycodone in 1, and then various other prescriptions were misused in 5 incidents. 11 deaths in the elderly population were due to complications of falls from standing or sitting height. Typically, they fall, break a hip, and then die from complications of that. The one little bright light, our office did not investigate any homicides last year in Wright County. That broke a trend where we've had one every year since 2013. Unfortunately, the total number of suicide deaths was the highest that we've seen at 18. The decedents ranged in age from 11 to 82 years. As is typical, yes. The majority in all cases, the decedents are male. Alcohol was present in 4 cases. And then last 2 findings, there were incidents where somebody found a bone that looked concerning, but it was classified as not human. And then 417 cremations were approved. Again, the highest number that we've seen, and that is consistent with most of our other counties where that's just increasing per year.
Does every cremation have to be approved by you, or?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yes, because, and we do catch cases every year, so deaths are reported to us generally, if somebody passes away at home, who do you call? You call 911, who calls the medical examiner? In situations where someone may die in a nursing home or a hospital, it may fall through the cracks, and then, oh no, this is a medical examiner's case. Maybe it was complications of a motor vehicle crash, or usually it's a traumatic head injury or something like that in an elderly person that wasn't reported to us. And so we have to make sure that it's not forensically significant, essentially that the body is not evidence before it's permanently altered. So you can't permanently alter a human body without the medical examiner's permission.
And go ahead, I have a couple other things, I don't want to hog the floor here.
No, the statistics, when you're looking at 11-year-old suicide, that's really extremely sad.
Yes.
I did have a question. When you talked about some of the accidents where substance abuses, like heroin and Oxycontin, now this is non-prescribed, right? I mean, if you were prescribed Oxycontin, you have a shoulder pain, and then you were in an accident, you wouldn't list that as a cause.
If they misused it, yes.
Oh, if they misused it.
Yes, so heroin, of course, is never a prescription. A lot of the oxycodone and narcotics we see are diverted. They don't belong to that person. Where I listed other prescription, it's usually a mix. They use somebody else's or they overuse their own. So certainly you can overuse yours and pass away from that.
So that would still get listed
would be
if they were
listed.
over
Yes.
taking it, okay.
Yes.
And then the other thing, I guess, and I think I can speak for the whole board, is it's just so disturbing when we lose somebody to suicide, and we've had different awareness things here in the county. It's so sad. Everyone suffers with depression from time to time, and when somebody ends their life that way, they hurt not just the family but society. We'll never see the potential to that person, and it's a shame because some of those people could turn out to be real changers in our society. It's just, I don't know the answer to it. I just don't.
No. Sometimes people do have years and years of depression, and it's not considered unexpected, but some cases it seems very impulsive, where from what we can determine, there was just no real preceding incident, or something happens and, this is the decision that they make and it's irreversible. And yes, it's very, very
But
tragic and hard to
I know
comprehend.
we've had it in our family, I think Commissioner Potter, and I mean, it touches everybody, and I just hope that we can make progress somehow toward an awareness that I know one time when I was in the Navy, I had to, I shouldn't admit this, but it was a disciplinary action. I forgot to go to a muster because I was in the library reading a book. I'll put
Sure
it out
you
there,
were.
so it wasn't.
Yeah.
But nothing happened out of it. But I was so just scared and whatever. And this guy came by and he said, "How do I feel?" And I said, "I feel like killing myself." And then he said, "Well, let me just tell you something about that." He said, It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and I never forgot that. So then any other time you deal with depression, and then you went past it, and then you look back and you laugh at it. So, but it's to say that, though, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I think people need to realize that, so.
And just so, Gary Alberts, our office administrator, is here if you had any financial questions.
No,
for him.
thank you.
He's-
We really appreciate you coming in every year. Mike, did you have something else to?
No, I did not, Mr. Chair, but thank you is what I gotta say.
Yeah, appreciate your, very difficult work that you do, so.
Thank you.
Dr.
Commissioner
Strobel,
Batch.
are these numbers pretty consistent with what you see in other counties around as far as statistic-wise from most areas? I mean, they look pretty flat from the last 5 years.
Yeah, pretty generally. Again, we've seen a tiny, and again, it's hard statistically because we don't have every death in Wright County reported to us. And so that's kind of a challenge. We don't know, for the total suicides where it is over the whole population. But we've seen a tiny bump in most of our counties in 2016 in the suicide numbers. And again, even a tiny bump is a tragedy, but that has also been consistent. So, yeah.
And you said those ages were from 11 to
11, 82. Yeah, or 8, was it 82?
11 to 82.
Yeah.
That's.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you again very much. We look forward to every year coming in,
next year,
so
yeah.
see you next year. So did we need to approve that?
Mr. Chair, it's just a report.
Just a report,
Accepting
okay.
the report.
Sounds good. And Kelly Stry.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
You have a timed item at item C under timed items.
Oh,
Unless, of course, they corrected that.
What?
Mine's
See,
cut
it's
off.
not even,
I don't
got
even
cut
have
off on
an
my
item
page.
C.
I don't even have it.
Okay, so they adjusted that then.
Oh,
So what is item C? Is that no longer an item?
no, it is still an item. Unfortunately, we had some errors or complications while we were trying to print the agenda.
Mr. Chair, item.
So it's to schedule a public hearing for your local option sales tax.
Okay.
Okay.
That's why I went from B to D.
Yeah, it went from B to D here, so. Okay, so we will, and then this is for scheduling a meeting,
A public hearing, Mr.
a
Chair.
public hearing, excuse me, for them.
Mr. Chair, and also add that Wednesday or Thursday would be a better day in the evening. Monday and Tuesday evenings tend to be city council and township officers meetings, so it makes it problematic for them to appear if they want to.
So you said Wednesday or Thursday? and-
Wednesday or
26th
Thursday.
or 27th of April, or you want to go further out than that? That's be the soonest we could go, be the 26th or 27th.
Why don't we do the Thursday, because and Wednesday night has a lot of religion class things too, so.
Do you want to go 6, 7, 7:30?
7, we have some public here. 7 o'clock seems to be
They
a
requested
good time for them to
7.
get here. Because we want public participation in this.
So you thinking April 27th at 7 o'clock?
Mr. Chair, I will not be here.
Okay, do we want to pick another day? Because I think it's important that everybody's here.
You want to go another week out to like the 4th?
May 4th.
May 4th should work, I think.
4th?
You see anything, Sue?
Oh, I'm sorry, we're just talking, is this going to be a committee of the whole or Transportation Committee of the whole?
It would be a public hearing.
Public hearings, so.
So
Of
we
the
would,
full board then?
Yep.
Full
full
board.
board
correct.
and,
Okay.
and inviting everyone, anyone from the county.
Let's do the May 4th then, 7 o'clock.
All right.
Public hearing at 7 o'clock, and then I'll take a motion for that, I guess.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to set a board meeting with a public hearing in reference to the sales tax option for public hearing on May 4th, which is a Thursday at 7 o'clock.
I will second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome. Discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, now we're down to Kelly Stry, our University of Minnesota Extension person. Go
Morning,
ahead.
Board.
Won't know your
As
exact
you-
title, Kelly. You have to fill us in on that.
Some of you know that we have an opening in our office for a full-time program coordinator. That position closed on Friday, so we're in the process of, the university is in the process of screening those applications and conducting interviews. In the meantime, we have an interim 4-H program coordinator that I'd like to introduce you to. Tina Holte will be with us until June 1st. And she'll be serving in that full-time program coordinator role. So I just want to have an opportunity to come and introduce you to the board.
Okay, great. Tina, do you want to?
Sure. I've met some of you already, but I just wanted to say I am very happy to be here. I did apply for the position, so I'm hoping to roll into that, for that position as well. So basically, my role has been just to bring our youth into a leadership role, and we're focused on experiential learning, so hands-on learning with our 4-H programming. So coming on board, I've been here about 8 weeks, so it's been hard and fast. I've got youth development experience and program management. I worked with the Navy previously. Just moved here to Washington about 8 weeks ago. Lived in Becker for about 8 years, left for 4, and came back, and we're retiring here due to our sons being here. So I'm excited to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to working with the county. I've actually built some partnerships starting hopefully this summer for some summer camps with Parks and Rec and Soil and Water Conservation. So I'm hoping to keep doing that and build a great program here in the county for you.
Mr. Potter. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Tina, thanks for being here just in time to move the whole operation out.
Had an
We need
complete office
extra help.
move. Absolutely.
You know, and I know it's going to be a great fit and help us get to that next level.
Yeah.
Mr. Weezy, go ahead.
It's a wonderful space as well. We
Yeah, I
appreciate
was
it.
going to say, I mean, I can repeat what I said another time, but, you know, what a great idea to move the extension out to that building. So you can have an easier time
Collaborate.
when you have partnerships with the parks and, yeah.
We just lined up
Nice
all of our
space.
camps just recently, so I was able to walk in the office and talk to Brad right away, so
Oh, yeah.
very nice. Yeah, great resource there. So.
And I guess, Tina, what I would like to say is, we have had some great people in that position before you. Nathan, is it Nick?
Nick,
What is it?
Brittany and Nick.
Yeah, Brittany last time, but then before that was Nick, okay. But anyway, both of them were just fantastic. But the one thing I think, and Mike and I are on the extension board, and that we kind of miss is they're great and then they leave, and then they're great and then they leave. Do we have like a ball and chain that we can put around your ankle then or anything?
I get the position, I will be here for a very long time. Yes, I intend
Because
to.
and I think, Kelly, you would agree that continuity is very important too, I think. And I look forward to seeing you for a long time then, because the longer that, like I said, and Nick was here for a long time. I wish Brittany did such a great job for the kids too, and I know you will, but the longer you can stay with the program, it will help build that up, so.
Absolutely. We've got a great team as well, so
Okay.
looking forward to it.
Thank you
so
very much and welcome.
aboard.
Thank you.
I also would like to introduce you to Chloe Lilliston. Chloe is a sophomore at Delano High School. She's a member of the Willing Workers 4-H Club in Delano, and recently she had an experience to attend the Citizenship Washington Focus, which is a national 4-H trip, and attended the presidential inauguration. So she'd like to just share about that experience briefly. with the
Wow.
board.
I have a small PowerPoint thing that's just like pictures and stuff. I have to like
Oh,
unmute
maybe.
a picture.
That's funny, yeah. Yeah, that's good there.
I have to do something on here, like unmute.
There we go, we're up.
Okay. So anyways, I went to the Citizens Washington Focus presidential inauguration, and every year they have the Citizens Washington Focus thing, which is like, it's like a big trip that they select people from each state, and they bring you down to Washington, D.C., and we stay in the building that's up there, and it's pretty much like a big, almost like a college campus feeling. They have different halls and different dining halls and all these different dorms and stuff you can stay in. And this year, though, they had a presidential, like their first presidential inauguration one, because usually it's just in the summer and you go and you tour all over D.C. and learn about all the different like workings and stuff at the national level of 4-H and all that stuff. But This year, it was all focused on the presidential inauguration. So what we had to do to get in was we had a big, long, we wrote essays and answered all these questions and stuff. And then we did a ton of interviews, and it was a really long process. And then they selected 40 people from our state, and they selected different amounts from each state depending on how many people applied. And then you go down there, and we went down there for 5 days over the presidential inauguration. But before that, we went online, and we had to do like a ton of like different educational games and stuff like that to learn more about the election process and stuff. And so we first went down there, and we had like a big meet and greet with all the other kids from the different states and everything that was down there. And it was called a pin trade. So we like traded all these different pins and everything to get to know all the different people. And it was super, super fun because it was really cool to see all the different people and all their different views from their counties and what their 4-H's are like, because all of them are set up differently, and different people have, like, their county fairs are super small and they only have livestock, or they don't have horses, or they don't have generals, and it was super interesting to see all the different like diversity that it is 4-H, even though it's all like the same program, but it's all spread out, and different like ideas that everybody had. And then we also had this really amazing process that we did, which was we did like a presidential election, but it was supposed to be for the president of 4-H. So we got into 3 different groups, and we had a ton of caucus and different educational workshops and everything, and we selected one presidential candidate from each of our groups to go up there and have an election. And each person had their own like ideas and viewpoints about how to make 4-H better. So that's what their presidential candidacy was on. And one of the main points that kept getting brought up was how we're moving a lot from livestock and like what the original 4-H was about onto more STEM. So it's like science and technology, engineering and mechanics and all that stuff, which is super great because it's super great to expand our program and stuff into the cities. But they were also saying that they feel like a lot of times, like now that we're moving towards that, we're kind of neglecting what the original purpose of 4-H was supposed to be about, which was teaching kids, especially livestock kids, like the new techniques and new technologies for farming. Like I know our family, at our house we have 20 acres right over the Crow River that used to be soybeans and corn, but we got a grant from the state to move it into pasture, so now we have hay and grass, and they granted and gave us all the money to put fencing around all of our thing for cattle and livestock, and like so that we don't have as much runoff for the fertilizers and stuff. And I think it'd be really great, like all of them were saying, to help teach more about like the different upcoming things in farming and everything too, and have different like workshops and stuff like that. So that was super interesting to learn about. We also went to a ton of museums, like the Newseum, which was really interesting because we got to see like the Minnesota newspaper, and there's all the different newspapers and all the different ways that news travels, which is really interesting, or like really important for our upcoming generation, because media is such a big role, especially in presidential elections and all that stuff. We also listened to really amazing speakers that talked about, a lot of ours was based, and this was also on media, so we had like Anita McBride, Tim McBride, and Ellen Moran came and talked to us about different ways that media affects our elections and affects how people's perspectives are. So that was really interesting to see that a lot of like the websites and stuff that we get our news from are very specific to what we want to hear. So if you're a Democrat, you look at Democratic sites and hear all the Democrat in like instructions and all what they believe, and same if you're a Republican. And it really opened people's eyes to see that like you should be looking at both sides. You should be looking at Democrat or conservative websites, and also liberal and or Republican and stuff like that, so that you can get both sides of the story on what you should be learning. And then we also went on really amazing like monument and looked at all the different past presidents, monuments and all that stuff, and got to learn about what how like the different political views have changed throughout the years. And then finally we had like a big election to get like our president for all of our candidacy, and we had a big polls, and we all voted, and we all went through like the whole voting process. And then on the inauguration day, we all went and we took the metro and we went to the inauguration, and we actually got amazing seats, it was standing, but it was we got amazing spots, especially our state in general, because we got all like our senators gave us like vouchers or whatever to go up there. So that was really amazing because we got some of the best seats that are of everybody else. And it was super cool to see all like the different energy and all the different people that were there, and like hear President Trump talk, and just like the way that he carried himself, and just everybody else that was there. And then, yeah, that was just more pictures from the inauguration. And then at the end of the day, we got to go to this big ball, which was out on a cruise on the Potomac River. So that was really fun because we got to see like the high class or whatever of Washington, D.C. And we went on a big yacht party thing and had dinner. And then finally, everybody else went back, but my mom came and we all went to the Women's March because my mom really wanted me to see both sides of the political aspects. So I was there and experienced all of President Trump's inauguration and all of the power and people that were behind him. But I also got to experience all like the amazing different part of our political aspect in like the democratic system of peaceful protesting, and see that all these people that even though they didn't elect who they wanted to get as their president, they can still have a voice and be who they express what they believe in peaceful protests and stuff like that, which is really great to see, especially after all the violent protests. So yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you very much. That's great. Now, did you get any special treatment because your congressman is from your hometown, Tom Emmer?
Not really.
Oh, I'll have to bring that up with him.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Chloe, was there any evidence of Russian interference with your 4-H election there?
No.
Okay, now we just put that to rest, so we know
Yep.
that didn't happen
Yep.
here.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you tell your mom and dad you should be very proud of you because you did a great
Mr. Chair,
job.
Thank you.
I would entertain that we take a picture with Chloe, because this is big time. This is good for 4-H, for the identity. Also, this is a proud moment for Wright County to have somebody out there representing us and get to see the process. And I think it would be
Yeah, for sure.
a good way to get the message out. I mean, and we have the media here, and he once in a while will take a picture.
Mr. Chair, Chloe, that was a great presentation.
Yeah,
by
it
the way.
was.
Thank you.
It was. Very well done. Thank you.
In my district side.
Can I just unplug this, or is there like a special?
I think you can just unplug it, can't you, sir? Yeah, just go ahead.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say that this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I'm glad you're able to go, and thanks for representing our county and
Yeah, it was a really amazing experience.
sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we'll give Chloe a second to get unplugged there.
Sorry.
That's all right.
See the second page? I didn't get a second page printed out.
Wait.
That's it. I got the front, but.
How many people from Minnesota came then, Chloe?
40.
40 people, that's right. You said
And then
that.
we had like 10 adults who like
So not
chaperoned.
even one from each county? I mean,
No, there was like over 300 people I think that applied, and then they selected like 40. But other counties, ours was the biggest delegate people that came, so we had the most people from our state, and then a couple other states had like only 3 or 4 or something like that. So screw it. That one's already unscrewed. This one's like.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, we might need a man over here.
I know. I don't know how that's.
need one of those
Very tight.
multi-tools?
Mr. Hevla, do you have a hammer by chance?
Yeah, one of the sides is like, here we go, maybe you can grab it. Oh, I think I loosened it up.
Oh,
Hey,
sure
I
you
got
did.
it, I got it. There we go.
Thank you.
Just the thought of the sheriff coming up
Yes.
made that computer scared.
Okay, thank you again. Okay, and then back up is the Sheriff's Office reorganization plan. I know we put off voting on this last week.
Keep it there. Just 3 minutes.
Go,
Okay.
did somebody want to speak to this up here? Or?
Commissioner, Chairman Burrell, Commissioner Leiden requested that it be laid over till this week for gathering more information,
And then he takes off.
and we don't have him here, and that's, so,
Sheriff, would you like to speak? Go ahead.
Sure. Well, it's encouraging seeing somebody like Chloe. A lot of the young people that we deal with in the sheriff's office are people that are making their mistakes as they're growing up. And a lot of people I talk to at coffee say, I don't know what's going to happen with this next generation, but I think we just saw where that next generation is going. And I hope she seeks out a career in criminal justice, because I definitely have room for her.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Board. Good morning. Change is hard. I get that. I've been in this position in my second term, made a lot of changes, a lot of sleepless nights. Certainly, I apologize, Teresa and Karen, and some board members didn't think it was handled right, and it doesn't come easy, believe me. There's a human element to it. I get that. I've done it before in other positions where people have to work nights. They'd rather work days or working nights, holidays, weekends. I shut down a unit. I combined them for efficiency, and it is efficient. These are never easy. Restructuring isn't always easy, and ideally it's done through attrition. I don't have that luxury in this case. I could have brought this up, addressed it with staff 6 months ago, but I think we'd be experiencing what we've been experiencing the last 3-4 weeks. We would have been experiencing it for 6 months, and I've got a job to do. My office needs to run. Right now, it seems like it's split. I've got the new business manager started, and we need to move on. I need to get going. Again, this is something I've been exploring for several years, and with the addition of Shauna, the business manager, I felt the time was right. I knew full well it wouldn't be popular with at least 2 of the people affected, and I worked with HR to make sure we had, positions. It wasn't laying off. I could do it with existing staff. I'm elected to run the office. I don't make the decisions based on popularity or being reelected. I tell my command staff often, very often, in fact, just the other day too, that no seat in our office is sacred. And by that, I mean mine, chief deputies, anybody in that room. If it makes sense to do, you try to do it as kind as you can. Of course, it doesn't come across that way at times, but it's what I have to do. I do what's best for the county. I've attended the lean training, the Kaizen training that the county actually put on. I think I've been to 2 of them on how to do things more efficiently. I know where I work. I know Wright County's a conservative county, but this was not a financial decision, certainly an efficiency decision. I'm always searching for ways to streamline the operations of my office, and like I said, I've restructured in the past. People don't make this decision, or please don't make this decision about specific employees and positions. Chief Deputy Dave Miller and I talked about, recognizing it's a human element. Take the faces out of it, take the names out of it. Can't have special rules for special people. It just doesn't work. Like I said, I was elected to run the office, provide public safety services to our public in an efficient and cost-effective manner, and I have every intention of doing that, and I feel I've been successful in doing that. It takes courage to make decisions when there's a human element involved, and I followed the process by working with HR extensively, going to the Personnel Committee meeting, getting a recommendation from the Personnel Committee meeting, and then came here last week. But I do implore the board to allow me to run my office that I was elected to do. There's a few parts to this, not just the 2 employees whose positions are leaving, but I've got the dispatch sergeant temporarily in there looking to advertise for a civilian. I've got 3 people working out a class that, of course, would like to get into the class that they're going to be going to, I would hope. And then, of course, these 2 positions. So it's, it's just kind of up in the air right now. And I desperately need to get going to keep peace in my office. And I'm looking for help from the board on that. Trying to be a partner here. That's why I went through the process. I talked to Commissioner Vetch about whose employees they are. Render on to Caesar what's Caesar's. They're your employees. I'm fine with that. but I'm tasked with managing them. And I've got 240 of them, and it's not an easy job. I take it seriously. I live and breathe this job. I'm there every day. I really enjoy it, but I need to put a little more joy back into it. And again, Teresa and Karen, I'm sorry. Longtime employees, want to keep them in the organization, and I think I have a way to do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Sheriff. Go ahead, Commissioner Vance.
You know, and I wish I didn't come along this till all the way till last Tuesday. I wish I was in the personnel committees because we could have had a more frank discussion at that point. I wish I was in this office 6 months ago when this business manager's discussions would have taken place. Maybe we'd be in a different place at this time. It's not about the people. It's about the procedures and the process. Because you know, there's some of the rulings that we have within the county that we can point to that may have not have been followed as well as some of other ones, you know, because you could easily point in there that, you know, reclassification process is not to be used in reorganization, and they are kind of being done in conjunction here. And that's some stuff that HR should have caught on. That wouldn't have been on you either. That's something that they didn't, and that's the reason, because we are entering into this area now where it's painting a not very pretty picture. I want to throw it back, well, we have to maybe relook at what we can do differently here, because ultimately, the employees, the county's employees, their morale matters, and if we end up entering into this, breaking our own rules, we're wrecking the morale for the employees in the county.
Yep, and like I said, I work there every day, and I see an opposite picture. I see a lot of great morale. Our people do wonderful things day in and day out. Talking about it this morning with the possible sergeant applicant. Proud of our employees. You're never going to get 100% of the crew that likes what you're doing. A lot of times it doesn't matter who the sheriff is. They're not going to like change. They're not going to like direction that's pushed down for a variety of reasons. But we always have an open door, always. Tell that to everybody we hire, that if you're hearing things that don't sound quite right, come on in, ask me. I'm always available. Everybody has my number. And, you know, sorry if I offended you at all, Derek. It's just I'm very, very passionate about what the sheriff has the authority to do. We don't like flexing our muscles, but it is different. The elected head is different than a department head. It just is. And I've been to Minnesota County Association training. Been to a lot of it. Minnesota Sheriff's Office talks a lot about it, but I need the board to be a partner, and I think I've been a good partner with the board. We're gonna have our differences. I understand that, but at the end of the day, we do what's right for our customers, and we try to support our employees as best we can. But I want to run the shop how I really truly feel. I was elected to run it, and it's not going to be popular with everybody. And like I started out with, change isn't easy. It just isn't easy. But just because we did things a certain way for 15, 30 years, does that mean that's how we have to continue running it? But anything in the future, I'm all ears for stream. A lot of it's HR, and it's been wonderful working with Sonny and Tammy before that. Just seems like we get some real good direction from them.
Commissioner Houston.
Remember, since we've been on board the last 4 years, I think all but maybe 2 of our departments have come before us with reorganization, and sometimes, well, more than one. And I think that would be good for us to know, really, as a board, what we're tasked to approve and what we're tasked not to approve. We don't do any hiring. We don't do any firing. We approve positions. And well, I guess in this case, elimination of positions, I don't know. I know we've had this is the second time in the last month that this has come up. And it's not employees. When you're looking at this reorganization, and you were approved in the budget last year to hire this business manager this year, we didn't know what kind of a reorganization that might entail. And, you know, it's tough when you came to personnel, and we're looking at, and the reorg does make sense. And my concern was that we don't lose our employees that are so valued, and that we keep them in our organization, and that, you know, has always been my thing. I think that probably it's good for us to meet as a board to to set up a meeting, so all these processes are identified more clearly, because we make decisions, you know, as they're brought to different committees, Ways and Means and Personnel, and we need to kind of figure out maybe what some of the parameters are, and when does the department head need to bring these? Because we just got word about reorganization in another department, and it's on the website, and, you know, that didn't come before the board. So what are we tasked to do? What decisions do we make as a board, and what, you know, decisions do our department heads make that don't come before the board? I mean, it's budget. Basically, what that boils down to is budget decisions.
But Commissioner
Correct?
Hewson, we are tasked with enforcing the county policies. And
Exactly, yes,
and that's where we're kind of more into discussion here, in part of this was the integrity of the county's policies followed? And that's kind of the discussion that part of this is about. So, and are we following our mission statements? And that's what the constituents are questioning to us. And it's put on, anything that comes onto our agenda is our business. It
Right.
wouldn't be on there otherwise.
It's true. I completely agree, and I do listen to our constituents. I do listen to our employees. I do listen to, you know, anyone that wants to come before me, and perhaps that's what we need to do, is to sit down and identify. I mean, we've gotten different statutes. People have sent different statutes. They've sent us different, you know, policies that are in our personnel policy. We've got our business manager in place now. That's approved. That person is here. So you can start moving forward with that. But I don't know if we need to. I don't want to keep kicking the can down the road. I guess
Commissioner-
I'm in a bit of a dilemma, a big dilemma.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hewson, I guess at this point, I'm looking for an arm out from the sheriff's department as to coming down to a table and trying to find some common ground somewhere between where you're at and our view going forward. And I in this past week, you know, I think it's kind of been at a stalemate. And that feeling is we're going to walk out of this room here today at a stalemate. And if we're going to go forward outside of after this meeting, if it is tabled again for further discussion, I want to see us have to sit down at a table and a third party to moderate this so we can come to it. Because if you look around the state, there's probably 5 or 6 other counties that are going to war between the boards and the sheriffs, and that's never good. And we don't want to do it because it's not good for the public perception, and it ends up leading people to believe things that may or may not be true, and I don't want to go there. I think it's about us showing that, you know what, between a board and the sheriffs, because both of us have a lot of latitude of what we have for responsibilities as elected officials, and it's never good when 2 elected officials' bodies go against each other.
I said last week, I'll reiterate, I mean, I applaud the sheriff for looking to make the operation go more efficient. And like I said, my concern was we're eliminating 2 positions, but I tell you, I've known Joe for many years, not just before the board. I don't think you'll find a more honest person. And he said it's fully his intent to bring the people back. Now, I got it. It's not, they're both of them are going to be taking pay cuts, one of them considerable. But it's a tough call, and he's making a tough call, and I can't chastise him for that. I just think it's he has a role to do, and I don't think it's our job as a board to handcuff him but I don't know what you'd call that, but but to tie his hands, I mean, on a deal like this, I think he's gone through. I don't think the sheriff, he's done everything that he went through the HR, he went through the personnel committee, and I think he's done everything right here to do that. Now, this is not going to be it's not going to be a panacea. You're not going to have everything work out perfect for everyone in this situation. One second, Derek. But we had the reorganization up in the office, and I know I've talked to staff up there that were not happy. They felt they were getting a demotion, not in pay so much, but even just in authority and who reported to them. And those are legitimate concerns, but we have to look at the big picture as a board. We have an elected official, not even just a department head here, that is looking, I believe, in good faith to have his organization run more efficient. And I don't know, I think we owe him that, but go ahead, whoever.
All of us are fallible. Even HR could have made mistakes in this, and that's where the thing. There's too many things here where I think there is, and we are tasked with overseeing HR, and that's the reason I'm here asking questions. And between last week and this week, I haven't gotten enough information at this point, and I'm still looking to find a way to mitigate future expenses to this. And I haven't gotten that either. And for that, I mean, I'm going to motion that we go forward into another forum to try and discuss this as ourselves in the Sheriff's Department to find a way to find a common ground on this.
You're making a motion?
I'm making a motion.
For what? Say the motion.
To move forward, and I guess I'm looking for Sue, recommendation of where we can put this to have a discussion. I do like to mediate something with the Sheriff's Department if they're open to it. To try and find some common ground to this. But other commissioners, if you have suggestions.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Mr. Chair, the clarification of the motion is to put this into a committee of the whole to specifically discuss the reorganization of the Sheriff's Department, the impact with these, the situation here to get more answers?
Or a bigger, are you looking at a bigger picture?
Well, I guess I'm trying to figure out what the best way we can get, for some fruitful discussion, because right now we're crowding a lot of one issue discussion at a large meeting that I think this is an issue that we need to talk about ourselves, that we can draw up a plan that we know that we can come into this room that both parties are willing to agree on and be able to move forward with this and hopefully restore some common ground from all parties involved.
So we have a motion. Is there a second to the motion?
Mr. Chair, in reference to Commissioner Vetch's concerns and that, and being new on board, it's kind of tough for him to get thrown in this right away in this. Personally, I think he needs to get his questions answered. And I don't want to impede Sheriff Haggerty with running his department, but this is some serious discussion, serious things, and it has lasting repercussions on which way the wind blows in this. And Mr. Chair, we have Director Sunny Hess, HR, that would like to speak.
I just have one thing to say. At the last meeting, Commissioner Delighten asked to table this item so that people that had questions could ask those questions and get some of the answers to the questions. I received one question from one commissioner in the last week. Commissioner Vetch, if there were things that you weren't sure of whether or not policies are followed, if you were questioning that, I didn't hear any of those questions from you. I would have appreciated that so that we could have had that dialogue, because now you're sitting here attacking me as not doing my job. And so I would have just appreciated the opportunity to answer the questions, which was the reason why this was tabled from the last meeting.
I'm not comfortable with HR's standpoints in this, the alignment between the Sheriff's Department and HR. I feel like any discussion that I have there is gray and swayed. So I'm not comfortable with going to that office to have these discussions. I would use a third party.
My job as the HR director is to advocate for employees, to make sure that policies are followed,
to make sure that laws are not broken. But it is also my job to advocate for what's right for the county, to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible, to make sure that we are structuring ourselves efficiently. So I have a two-prong role in the job that I hold with this county. I am sorry that you feel that way. We haven't even had an opportunity to work together, and so that's very unfortunate that you haven't even given me an opportunity to have conversations with you. I just wanted to make sure that that was known, that I received one question in the last week.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. We should either get a second or move on. Okay.
I will second that, Mr. Chair, just because I do feel that Commissioner Vetch needs to get this clarified, because I think if this lingers too long, it's only going to get worse. I mean, not that I want to delay the sheriff, but I need to work with Commissioner Vetch after this is all, the dust is settled on this one. And I need to make sure that he's listened to and heard and is comfortable, whichever way it ends up going, is comfortable with it, not delaying the implementation of the sheriff's plan here, but just make sure that Commissioner Vetch gets enough information that he's comfortable. He might not be happy with everything he gets, but at least comfortable with the questions and has enough time to vet it out, because this is a tough position to be put in right out of the gate when you first get here.
Okay, I guess, Sonny, could you come up? I just have a question of you before we move on. And I know we have a business manager that's on board. You know, the sheriff is looking forward to implementing this. How much, in your opinion, is it going to be a disruption? I mean, I know it will be a disruption out there. I mean, from the plan, I mean.
Well, my understanding right now is with the business manager starting on Monday, Sheriff Haggerty has had that business manager assume all of the supervisory responsibilities of the role and over the clerical staff. So if in that situation, we'll have two office supervisors in place that are performing at a lower level than the position requires at this time.
So it would not be very efficient anyways.
And Mr. Chair,
For a time period.
they will still be in those positions, maybe not actively until April 28th.
Well, at this point, I would say all dates are off the table. I mean, without a decision by this board, I don't think it's fair to set those dates.
But
I mean, the dates don't necessarily apply any longer because there hasn't been a decision by this board. Those dates were set with a 30-day notification period from a decision of this board last Tuesday. And so whenever a decision is made, we will have to review what the timeline would be for implementation.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, that kind of does that adds a new layer.
That's where we have to have more discussions.
Because that decision then would not be April 28th any longer. I mean, the date.
That would have to be discussed.
Okay.
I am a person that would rather, make decisions and get done, but
Like,
I'm listening to Commissioner Vetch, I'm listening to Commissioner Potter, and I want everything to be equitable in this. I want to be fair to our employees. I want to be fair to HR. I want, so I guess I would support setting up a committee of the whole so we can get things ironed out better, because
and I'll just speak to it. I mean, and for the public that doesn't understand this job sometimes, we have committees that hear things, they come to the board to make a recommendation. Now, it's not rubber stamped by the board, but it is, the rest of the board does, we try to put a lot of trust in that committee. And I understand though, Derek, I've been in the exact same position where the committee has come forward with something that I felt strongly,
and you voted against it.
And you vote against it, and it is difficult because then you have your structure that you're trying to support, but at the same time it's something you feel different about. But well, I don't know, and I'm torn on this. I guess
I'm torn. I'm very torn.
I just think we're not being very efficient right now. I wish that, and I guess Commissioner Houston, I'd ask you the question, because you are on the Personnel Committee. Is there things that have changed that, information that you might not have had at the Personnel Committee that you
Well,
think
people-
would
yeah.
do things differently, I guess, or do you feel comfortable yet with your recommendation?
People, certainly we've heard from a number of people, and they've addressed, statutes and personnel policy, which I'm not as well versed on as perhaps I should be. And yeah, the recommendation, we give our department heads, they basically have autonomy, and we have our HR, and they're working on, there's been a lot of reclassifications of positions, even just this year, but in the last months, they've looked at, I don't know how many positions have been looked at and been reclassified. So those are things that's been an ongoing process. And I don't know, Sunny, how many have there been? There's been a number. There's many on your desk right now. Right. So this is something that's happening a lot. As I said, we've had reorganizations, and maybe that's part of this whole thing, because we had reclassifications and reorganization and a new person starting at the same, and that was in kind of one fell swoop, and perhaps that is not, I mean, that's not in your comfort level, and I think maybe we need to say, okay, how do we handle this in the future so we don't have these questions.
Well, and Commissioner Houston, that's one issue. I mean, if we're delaying, that's a worthy meeting to have, but this here particular motion is going to delay action on the reorganization. So I see our Chief Deputy, Mr. Hoffman, has come up.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Commissioner Houston brought up the fact of the reclassification. You've got several things going on in this request. You could, in part, vote to reduce, like the reclassification, and then those two other positions, like Mr. Vetch has a concern about, discuss them in the Personnel Committee of the whole. The reclassifications are a separate issue. No matter what happens, whether the board approves this or not, reclassification is going to be an issue. There's already been discussion with those three people that they're doing that job. So whatever happens here, there may be other avenues for that reclassification, whether it's through the union process or what. But
Right, and that has
that
to
is
be
a separate
approved.
issue that if the
It is.
board wished, they could actually make that step and resolve today without affecting those two other positions. So.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Chief Deputy, so what you're saying is they go forward with the reclassification as proceed, and in reference to these two positions that we're talking about, have that as part of the Personnel Committee of the whole? Is that what you're?
And then maybe at this Personnel Committee of the whole meeting, you can decide, hey, do you want every single position treated separately from now on? Heck, we'll bring it to in front of the board for the communications officer, separate from, we just thought for efficiency, instead of creating 15 different meetings and stuff, this is a whole package that we're bringing to the board. Now, if the commissioner wants a mediator at every meeting, since he can't communicate with some departments, maybe that's something we'll have to consider down the road also. So.
Sunny, could you speak to that? I guess
Sure.
some of this stuff is beyond me. So.
Yeah, Chair Burrell, I do think that he has a point. You could separate the three reclassifications from the reorganization, approve those three reclassifications, and then refer the rest of the reorganization to a Personnel Committee of the whole for review.
I want to see how it looks. I guess I'm still, without having it written in front of me, I don't want to approve anything until if you want to do that separately.
Yeah, I can speak to it a little bit. So basically what it would be is there's 3 OT2 positions right now that are being requested for reclassification, 2 to account technicians, 1 to a TAS position. So those 3 requests for reclassification could be done today, separate from the reorg, which would be the elimination of the 2 office supervisor positions and the addition of 1 account tech and 1 OT2.
Okay, so,
This is kind of because by doing that, this is probably, first of all, what should have been done, because you've lumped it into one sum, which is kind of against the
Well,
policy.
as Chief Deputy indicated, they are 2 separate things. We discussed them all as one because it affected the entire department. But we did have conversations about the reclasses are the reclasses and the reorg is a reorg. They are 2 separate things. We did them all as one conversation because they impacted the same department.
okay, all right, so we have a motion on the floor right now, and you don't want to change it, or?
Would you, Mr. Chair, would you be willing to amend your motion to approve the reclassification? That study is pretty extensive to assign points. Minnesota is the only state in the United States that has points assigned to positions and in government jobs or union jobs, and
Well,
that
And
kind of makes,
Commissioner Hughes,
it makes
maybe-
it a little bit
Maybe the way
more
to do this
complicated.
is to make a motion to amend, so that the part that can move on, could move on, and the part that Commissioner Vetch wants to hear more about could get referred back.
Mr. Chair, you already have a motion on the floor.
have a
that-
motion.
Yeah, but you can amend it, that's what I'm saying. You
Yeah,
can
I'd
make
have
a
to
motion to amend.
I'll remove my motion at this point just so we can discuss a blend here.
Is that okay with the second, or? Okay, so that's been taken off.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure that Commissioner Vetch is comfortable with this, because this is, no matter how you slice this, it's not going to be the friendliest situation ever. But you need to come to some understanding or terms with how this is going to go forward, so Sheriff Joe can do his job, and we can still have our policies and our integrity and everything else, and try to make sure that there's some way to blend this to make it work.
And I agree with, I'm willing to go with this portion just as an idea for them to go forward, that, we're giving on this, and I understand that this is pertinent to his job as managing the sheriff's department, his organization, his study, approving this reorganization of those positions, or not reorganization, the reclassification, I'm sorry, great, reclassification of those 3 positions. I'm willing to go with that part. The reorganization part, I guess, I was just frustrated the tying of it all together, but so they can get them going forward, I'll give this, and in light to having a future discussion with Sheriff Hagerty and other solutions.
Okay, so I need a motion.
That's your,
Who wants?
I'll make the motion.
And the motion.
Just to clarify the motion.
Just
what
for
it
the
is.
reclassification of the 3 OT2s, the 2 account techs, and the 1 TAS.
That's okay, Todd? Okay. Okay, so we have a motion.
Mr. Chair, question for Sunny. Is this what Commissioner Vetch is discussing and mushing, is this more in line with what you were explaining earlier? That you would like to break this out into the steps, so the one step get done, the other step we're still going to revisit?
Yep.
So, because I don't want to create.
If there's absolutely, if there's a way to move forward with some of it and hold the rest for further discussion, I think that would benefit the sheriff's office. It would benefit keeping just the process moving.
So why I asked that, Mr. Chair, is because I think Miss Susan Backus over there is going to have a dickens of a time trying to figure out how to write this into minutes. That
should be pretty
the
clear.
rest of the public can
Okay,
understand.
well, I think his motion there at the end was
Okay,
clear.
I just want to make sure she's got it, because she's going to come back with questions later, because this is a lot of conversation.
I do want to stress that I do want to have a conversation with the sheriff's department in some capacity before we come forward again on this, because if we're just going to sit here week after week after week, we got to have some fruitful discussions, and I really truly believe that Joe and myself and some of the board members, we can get there. I think we can get there so that we can build a good relationship going forward. We need to get these discussions.
So let's get past what we can get past here, and then we'll we'll maybe set something up, whether it goes back to the Personnel Committee or wherever, so. Okay, is there a second for the motion?
Did you second? Mr. Chair, I will second that. There's only 4 of us here. If we had a 2-2 vote, whatever comes before us is not going to move forward, so I think it's important to move forward.
Okay.
And so I will second that.
Okay, further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. And then now we still have to, do you want to refer the rest of it? Sheriff Joe?
Yeah, I appreciate the reclassification. We're still going to have 2 people, though. The office supervisors, as of yesterday, were working as basically an office tech and an account tech. So they're still being paid supervisory wages. It's a mess. And I just want to know the board's take. Does the board feel they have the authority to determine who supervises who in my office? I don't think we're there. And Commissioner Vetch wants to have some discussion, and we can. But that's something, just so you know, I won't relinquish. I'm gonna do what I feel I truly can do. I'll certainly meet with you. I don't know where that compromise would be. You determine the pay. If you're gonna pay the office and the accounting clerk at supervisor wages, I think you're gonna have an HR nightmare, but we can certainly talk about it, and then we can talk. I think the only other thing on the table is the reduction of 1 sergeant in the office and adding a civilian communication supervisor.
We already have an HR nightmare. I mean, I got letters upon letters upon letters of items that are HR nightmares, and I'm sure my other fellow commissioners can talk about HR nightmare. It's stuff that that none of them are going to want to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about them in this forum, and that's where I'm trying to prevent HR nightmares. I'm trying to restore morale, and that's where this is at.
Right, and I think we have a public opinion issue here, and I'm willing to take that on. I don't mind being the bad guy. I'm doing it for the right reasons. That comes with these elected jobs, making tough decisions, and then you move on. But I think continuing to punt this ball down, I don't know where the compromise is going to be other than the process for it. And if you want to have a committee of the whole, we can certainly discuss it, and I'll meet with any of you. My door is always open, like I said.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sheriff, I believe this is more for an understanding going forward, because I can't believe this is the last time we're going to have this kind of discussion.
Correct.
And we need to have, and maybe we should have had this discussion a few years ago with other reorganizations or something. That was kicked down the road, and it just kind of blows up right here, and you just happen to be the lucky recipient of it. But I think this is important to get some understanding how we move forward, and so there's a full understanding when reorganizations happen, which you are department head and elected. You have certain autonomy that we are limited on how we can handle it, but we still need to make sure that the whole county and the flow and everything kind of has some kind of synergy and flow to it, so everybody knows what's going on. So it's not just a battle royal like we've been seeing the last couple of weeks here.
But if I would have eliminated a couple of positions and you had no calls on it, my guess is we would have went right through here. And let's say I want to eliminate a chief deputy. I'm going to go it alone. Would I be here? If I'm going to eliminate a jail captain, would I be here? I think it does matter who the people are in this case, and the positions they were in, and there's definitely pushback on it, and I get it. But I do need to move on. I need a cohesive office, as cohesive as I get it. But with this hanging there, it's just tough. It's tough in the office, and I don't think it's fair to my new business manager. That's kind of the new kid in the school right now. But I'll meet with any of you if you want to have a meeting. I don't know what we'll accomplish, but I'm more than willing to meet, and I appreciate the reclassification on those three positions.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Sheriff, so you brought up the point of the eliminating the sergeant or through attrition. Is that something that would need to be approved fairly quickly? I mean, we're looking at
No,
that-
no,
a civilian position for that.
Right, we're sometime this year. I'm not in a huge hurry for it. I've got a real decent person in there. It's running fine. I've got no issues with it. It's
Okay.
just something I've been looking at for a number of years, so. But yeah, there's no urgency on it at all.
And that was, part of the Personnel Committee
Okay.
The
recommendation.
one caveat on that is we're seeking permission to work with HR and coming up with a job description and also sending it off for points or whatever it is. So that's what we want to do now. So this fall, August, September, October, we can move in that route. So that's what we're asking permission for.
So what are the wishes of the board here to just bring this back to a personnel committee or?
I guess my fact is if, he wants to stand there and say, I need to run my office, I want to run my office, why even bring this stuff to the personnel committee? Why even bring it to this board at all? Because ultimately he wants to stand, he's not willing to compromise. There's no prude. This is what I want. I'm telling you what I want. Don't bother voting on it. That's the reason. It comes onto our agenda for a reason. We're pertinent to ask questions. We're pertinent to compromise, and you're unwilling to.
Well, Commissioner Vetch, I'm just, I don't know what the compromise would be. Reinstate them as supervisors? Is that your wish?
I don't know. The water is so muddy at this point. I don't know. I'm not a sheriff. I want to figure out how we got to this point, and now it's like we're in a tough situation. How do we put it back to where it needs to be without muddying the waters in personnel?
To me, it's clear. It's a tough decision, like I said before, and you're obviously struggling with it. I get that. But if you want to have a committee of the whole and we'll meet, we'll talk it out, that's fine. That's not going to hurt anything. I'd be more than happy with that, or you come on out, or I'll come to your office, we can talk about it. But, whatever you want, I followed the process because I want, like I said, I want to be a partner. I want to be transparent. But there's some things as sheriff that I can do, but I always want to do them in lockstep with my county board and with HR for obvious reasons, so we're not doing this.
Okay, so the question is, how are we going to move forward? Does somebody want to make a motion for it, or?
Do you want to refer this back to the personnel committee on that one
Of the
issue,
whole?
or do you want the committee of the whole? Mr. Vetch, you're the one that
Well,
wants to
at this
get
point,
straightened out.
anything going forward, we got to do as a group, because to do it in a twosome group and come back here and
Fair
nobody
enough.
else had any say in it would be pointless.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion for?
I'll make a motion for a committee of the whole meeting.
And,
Mr. Chair, I will second that with a comment.
Need a date.
okay,
I think it's good to do a committee of the whole, because if it went back to the Personnel Committee, it
Same
would,
issues will
Yeah.
come back.
it would be probably the same, so,
recommended date. So did you have anything that you wanted to?
hold on, I'm trying to
Work
pull up
around
my
there.
calendar.
And I would just say for the sheriff's benefit, the sooner the better, I would say, right? We have to wait 3 days.
Well, April 12th is already committee day.
So could we,
If we just did mid of the afternoon on the 12th,
Yeah, we could
we'd
do
already
1
be
o'clock
here.
on the 12th.
1 o'clock at the 12th,
okay,
Christine?
Yes.
1 o'clock on April 12th. Okay, that's our motion then. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so April 12th, 1 o'clock. Maybe we can work something out, okay? Now I forgot where I was on the agenda. Technology Committee, Commissioner Vetch, could you take that?
All right. Technology Committee met on March 22nd, 2017. Those present were Commissioner Dahleden, myself, Adam Tagaro, Lee Kelly, Virgil Hawkins, Sean Riley, Bob Hevola, Jamie Goodrum Schwartz. Others present were Sherry Nelson, Olga Strobel, Connie Mae Cooper, Jen Ressett, Eric Stennis, Sue Virgin, Tim Dahl, Todd Hoffman, Christine Bartlow, Brian Osselson, Tammy Vaith, and Lindsay Meyer, a whole group of people. First time.
Wait, maybe you could just say who was not there.
10% of the county employees were there. No. All right, Wright County, we had the Wright Fax update presented by Connie Mae Cooper. The new fax system, Wright Fax, has been successfully deployed countywide. The DMV is connected directly to the state for their business. Bob Hevola, with Auditor Treasurer, stated that he has heard no complaints. The county may possibly see savings and reduction of phone lines being tied up for fax usage. This project was also first to be utilized as a full project management process from beginning to end. This is informational only. A small change was made in the social media policy presented by Adam Tagaro. Tagaro proposed a small change to personnel policy 711-10, section C1. The change indicates that the administration department, rather than the web committee, would be the authorizing party for the media site. Action was approval of policy change. Infotech survey results, Adam Tagaro presented. IT conducted a countywide survey to judge the effectiveness of work being done and gauge users' attitudes towards the department. Initial Infotech survey was completed in June 2016. All departments responded. The response rate of the whole was around 58%. This is in light to the future Infotech coming in here in this month for further discussions. This has been actively handled by the creation of the project profile management system. Another direct result of the survey was to address the capacity concerns. Some IT personnel adjustments have been made to begin to evaluate the capacity issue. As a follow, IT would like to continue to see improvements in scores received by fellow county departments. Another survey would be helpful way to upgrade changes. Informational only, this one was. And then there was requested to tabled to the next committee meeting for further discussion on that Infotech piece. PCI compliance. Tagaro provided the commissioners with a statement from Health and Human Services card processor regarding their PCI compliance. The PCI compliance was discussed as a subpart of the credit card implementation process. Commissioner Dahleiden direction was to ensure that we are actively prepared to handle PCI countywide as it has many pieces to manage. Connie Mae stated that each vendor, as part of the credit card project, has their own format of addressing PCI. Also that there are third-party vendors to complete the process as well. Tim Dahl, County Risk Manager, recommended standardizing our compliance through the county. Sean Riley, Planning and Zoning, recommended standardizing our compliance throughout the county. Recommended zoning. Planning and Zoning was equally concerned as to what each department's role would be in terms of PCI compliance. As directed by Commissioner Dahleiden, the discussion will to address anything to continue as to receive more information going forward. Action was to address the PCI in tandem with credit card implementation process.
PCI stands for?
Procurement card.
Procurement card implementation. Okay. Basically, just the process for which you have safeguards for the using of credit cards.
Yep.
We're going to have further discussions on this. We're just in the early stages of that discussion. And then we also discussed the enforcement of technology governance policy. Discussion took place on the overall enforcement of IT governance. Mandated training and enforcement was discussed. Chief Deputy Hoffman reviewed the sheriff's action plan for training compliance. Due to the time it takes to complete all the required training, the Sheriff's Office makes training completion a line item in their semi-annual review. Accounting for all training modules within the county and for all particular staff members. This allows the supervisors and the managers to allocate time wisely to complete all the training so that the last 2 weeks of the year are not filled with training modules, which I applaud Chief Deputy Hoffman and the Sheriff's Department in their way that they go about this, that they make sure that they're checking their employees throughout the year so that they're making sure that they're getting their training in and they're not just slamming them all at the end. And I hope other departments throughout the county are following that, because if we basically the last 2 weeks of the year, every department could be like not working because they're all going to be just filling in their training videos. That just would be super inefficient. Discussion took place on what steps could be taken when staff or departments procure software or systems without first vetting out with IT. The standard process for IT staff is to remove any foreign software upon discovery. What should be done with the discovery of paid foreign software was a question at hand. This piece was also, Commissioner Dahleiden stated that the IT has over 250 applications already in use that needs to be maintained by IT, and the goal is to prevent duplications of applications. Dahleiden stated that an Infotech workshop will be held in April to look at how the county's technology support is structured. Selected parties have been emailed as part of the process to ensure effectiveness. IT would appreciate a timely response to the emails. Those, I believe, have been sent out, and I believe a number of responses should be in already. This is informational. Continue to be discussed at the leadership team meeting. Motion to approve the IT committee minutes
And recommendations.
and recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Potter. Discussion, other than just it was a long,
No.
There's just 3
long
pages.
Commissioner Houston.
If we could just add that PCI is procurement card implementation, just for everyone. It's not in the paragraph, so
Okay.
just to clarify for the public.
PCI compliance is not procurement card.
It's a
Oh.
process
Okay.
card.
It is, I'll tell you here real quick.
So no wonder why you were elusive about it. Nobody knew what it meant.
I knew at one point, like, isn't processing card?
It is payment card industry,
Okay.
and it's usually PCI DDS, so it's payment card industry data security standards. So anytime that you're accepting credit cards and you have information, you have to maintain integrity, whether
Okay.
you host it or process it internally. So
You have that,
Yeah.
Susan?
payment card industry.
Yeah, thank you. That just kind of helps clarify, because we use a few acronyms, and sometimes you kind of get,
How big is the book, Queen, the back ends?
it's a pretty big book.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next up, we have 5 Tuesdays in October. I just sent Commissioner Dahleiden a text, and I said if he had any preference, and he said he is not fussy. So,
He's not fussy. Sounds like him.
Sue,
Yeah, Coordinator Kelly requested if, for consideration, would be October 10th. There is a conference that he'll be attending the week prior, and that would just make it easier if he didn't have to deal with an agenda.
I thought for sure, go ahead, Commissioner Potter, or Commissioner Houston.
I was just wondering, I have leadership written down for some reason on the 11th. Is that correct? Of
October?
Yeah,
I don't have anything written down.
so I don't know why, if it was moved from Tuesday to Wednesday because Columbus Day were closed, or what that's all about. You don't,
Well, we
nobody else
could
did?
deal with that. We could move that if we
Yeah.
had to later.
No idea why I would be the only
Okay.
one that had
I'm
that written
surprised he didn't take the 31st to take the kids trick or treating though. God knows he has enough of them.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, with the coordinator picking the 10th, because usually the chair gets an option on this or preference, but
I'm okay.
Coordinator Kelly, if he's picking that because of a conference and everything else, it's a good reason to use that date.
I have no,
With that, I'd make a motion that we cancel the board meeting of October 10th.
Okay, motion
will
by
second
Commissioner
that.
Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome. October 10th, no board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Just for clarification, if I may, October 3rd is the leadership meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
That's what I have, yeah.
All right.
That's what I got.
All right, well, I don't know why I wrote that down.
We did vote, yes. Okay, now, next up, advisory committee.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Potter?
Okay, Mr. Chair, last week I had a couple things going on. We had the court's construction manager meeting. In the afternoon, we had 4 interviews that we did, and we've kind of whittled it down to 2, and now Alan is getting some more information back on those 2 to bring it forward for final consideration. I think that's the step that we need to take to get this project going, because we need to get that construction manager on quickly. We had excellent applicants to pick from. It's just a matter of which ones we felt when we interviewed them were going to do the best job for us or give us the best product, because that is the ultimate goal, is to make sure the product we put out there is serving the taxpayers the best. And it'll come forward once Alan gets all his information that he wants forward. The next thing is I was down at the Capitol on Friday for AMC Transportation Work Group, and they're going through a couple of changes of platform, which in some cases were kind of a little late to the table here, and really things that weren't going to happen. They were talking about, they pulled the gas tax thing, then they decided to do the tab fee, which both of them on Friday I was down on the floor, and I was in the caucus room and the floor for the afternoon session. Again, they did pass the transportation bill, the House File 861. There was about 3.5 hours of debate, which it's amazing that they can stay awake for all that, because some of it was redundant and really had no rhyme or reason to it. But they ultimately passed it. But it was an experience, so if you ever get a chance to go down and be on the floor or be in a caucus with them down there, that is, it's truly an experience you won't forget, because it's different from the gallery to being on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
The conversations and everything else. And that's all I have for this week, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Hewson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was at the Central Minnesota EMS Board meeting last Friday, and our seatbelt revenue
And
is,
which EMS is,
I'm sorry, Emergency Medical Services. The acronyms that we know.
I had to do that,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Thank you, that's okay. At least I knew it, right? So,
Bob, you want to correct her on that?
Yeah.
She's good.
What does Wikipedia say?
Yes.
Sorry, I
So,
didn't mean to.
you know, the good news is that seatbelt use is up. The bad news is the revenue that we get for our grants that we give to the local ambulance services and the emergency responders is down. So we have 250 agencies in our region, and they apply for reimbursements for both training and for equipment grants. And so we're looking for, continue to look for more stable funding from the legislature, and we hope that going forward we will have that. My thought for the last couple of years has been that if they start fining people for texting, that, you know, the revenue could go way up, and hopefully the texting would go down, but that's part of one of the things in the public safety requests in the legislature. There's a number of them, several pages that we'll be looking at to increase our safety behind the wheel. So, and a few other things going on with that, but that, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to pass, and Derek, you said you're up.
Yep.
All right.
What else? We have,
Leadership.
we have leadership at 11 o'clock. And for anyone that's interested, there is a Next Gen 911 session going to be going on in C-118 from 1 o'clock till 4. And then Commissioner Potter and I have extension at 4 o'clock today.
Out at the new building?
Oh, that's right. I point over here, it's out there now.
Oh, yeah, you gotta travel.
Yeah, I'd be at the wrong place. Okay, and other than that, we will stand adjourned at 10:34.